Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great day today. I am really excited on this new edition of Dell Talk. We're continuing our seventh season. I can't believe we're in our seventh season already with so many great guests. And I'm very honored and privileged to have our next guest on with us here today. Jenn Stears, okay, is a very special person to the company and to me. Jenn is our regional manager here at Kind Lending. Jenn brings over 20 years of experience. Jenn, you've pretty much done every single job there is in the mortgage industry, I think, right? You have a ton of experience. More importantly, you're focused on a lot of growth and the growth mindset and just a lot of growth in originations, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, right? That's something we talk about a lot. And so, Jenn,
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to have you part of our Dell Talk podcast today. How are you, my friend?
Good, good. Excited to be here.
Yeah, me
Love
too.
it.
Me too. I'm excited to have you here too. You're actually in Daytona Beach, Florida, right now, right? How's
Yeah.
that?
Yep. Our office is in Daytona Beach. Sunny. Love it here.
Yeah,
We've been in this location for almost 2 years now.
2 years. Nice. So, did you take the Jeep out last night, Jenn?
Every morning. Not in the
You
night, but in the morning.
In
But
the
yeah,
morning, you pick it out. There
love
you
it.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jen's gonna have to share with everybody her cool Jeep that she has, Wrangler. That I'm a big Jeep fan too. So Jenn, let's talk a little bit about you, right? Let's talk a little bit about your background, so the people that are watching and listening get an idea of who you are and like what's important to you as you continue to grow your business here at Kind Lending.
Yeah. So I started in the business back in 2000. I worked in a bank. So obviously things back then were very different than they are today.
Yeah,
I made people's tax and insurance payments. So I was working in the escrow department. I made their mortgage payments. And then that bank, that was at a time where banks were getting bought out left and right. Like they were just, it was just a thing happening. So
hmm,
I went to another bank and then I ended up in processing home equity lines of credit. So it was like a credit card, basically handing out credit cards back in, 2001. So I did that, got really bored of that. Then I went into processing in retail. So GMAC Mortgage out in the East Coast,
yeah,
very big company back then. We actually did processing, underwriting, closing at first. And then they called it cradle to the grave. Then we moved to processing and underwriting. That's back when we had EA ones, twos, threes, like it was that type of stuff.
right.
Um, I left that. I learned a lot of what I know today during that period because I just got to experience so much from the loan officers, from into like inside workings of processing a loan, underwriting a loan, and then closing it. And then that was like you woke up mortgage, you went to bed mortgage. We had boxes stacked up on the
Yeah,
walls of files, and then went into working just as an underwriter for a big subprime company out in
hmm,
Middletown, Connecticut. And I just did underwriting at that point. That led me into the crash.
yeah,
So the crash happened. Right before that, I started running a brokerage, and that was my first experience with brokering.
yeah,
And so one of the brokers that I did a lot of underwriting for was like, you got to come and help my loan officers in the branch. You got to help them put files together. You're amazing. Like you just
yeah.
figure out how to make deals work. So went in, bad timing, obviously. Left my underwriting job, went and ran the mortgage brokerage, and then we went to work one day and our office was closed. We were like, "What is
Yeah.
happening?" Like shut down, shut out. I knew
Right.
nothing but mortgage at that point, so I'm like, "What do I do?" All my underwriter friends went to Bank of America. I'm like, "I can't go to Bank of America. My mindset doesn't work that way. I'm
Right.
too like, I can't. I don't fit in a box."
Yeah.
So I went and worked for a large insurance company for 7 years. I learned process improvement from start to finish. Like I can save money, save companies tons of money by process improvement, and that's what I did at Mass Mutual. So I won awards there for doing it. Saved them a ton of money. They're a 100-year-old company, so they can't really get new systems. They have to fix the process to save money. They can't, bring in new systems to manage policies. So I did that, got bored, So then went back to mortgages, then ran, did a lot of the loans in a big brokerage in Arizona. And I did that for a few years.
Yeah.
They're one of the largest brokerages in Arizona.
Uh-huh.
And that was my first back into mortgages since I left. And I was like, this is what I love. Like, this is just
Yeah.
what I love to do. I love people. I love doing things. I love fixing things. I'm a problem solver naturally. And then I moved to California. I went in again, brokering, went in and then started working for a brokerage in California, partnered
Mhm.
up with a gentleman, and we just, we were just killing it. COVID happened. It was like insane.
Yeah.
And then split off from that and got back into retail, not expecting to go into retail. I was kind of expecting to stay in the broker environment, but retail, um, talking to Glenn, talking
Mhm.
to some of the leaders at Kind, I was like, you know what? It seems like a very safe place. There's a lot of just kind conversations happening.
Mhm.
And I felt that coming to Kind was really going to be a good fit for me. So anyway, coming to Kind, starting as a branch manager, and now starting to create a region here, utilizing all of my like things that I've done in the past, right? So
Yeah.
it helps me mindset wise keep people focused, build off things, hold people accountable, but holding people accountable in ways of, okay, understanding how we need to get things done and really putting things in place to help them get it done. So
Mhm.
I just operate a little bit differently
Yes, you yeah.
because of my past, but which helps me build and do things. And I have a different relationship with the people that I work with. So when they talk to people about me, that's really where my referrals come from. So I do
Mhm.
a really good job at building that relationship on the client side and the realtor side. That's how I build my basically my circle of influence,
Yeah.
and I just build off of that.
Right.
I've kind of built in a different way than your normal loan officer going up the channels of branch manager and things like that. I've kind of built it very different, but it helps me help loan officers build in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it has been. I love your background, right? That's one of the things you and I have talked a lot about is just, your experience and kind of where it leads you to where you're at in your career now. And as you continue to grow in your area, your region, I think a lot of you and I talk a lot about this is people are either they're attractors to you, they're neutral, or they're detractors, right? And the
Mhm.
objective is to always be around people that or be a person that you want to be attracted to, and want to partner with every single day. And I noticed that when you were recently at an event, at an EXP event, right, where you
Mhm.
connected with so many partners and agents that were there that wanted to work with you because of some of the things that you said and were speaking to them about during the breakout session. So, I really appreciate what you're doing, and I think honestly, Jen, like what I see is the connections you make and how you motivate. And so, we were on a call earlier today. We were talking about the difference between being motivated every single day, but being disciplined, right? So,
Mhm.
if I'm an originator right now, regardless of channel, what are some things that we should be focusing on a daily basis? You stated right now connection, right? So if I'm a
Mhm.
loan officer, you're doing a ton of production, right, Jen? So you know how to not only run your branch but also expand and start recruiting and attracting people outside. But as an originator, what are some things that they should be focusing on right now, regardless of a rate environment, that would be helping them grow their business?
Definitely focusing on your connections and being consistent with those connections, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
understanding that referral partners are a huge part of your business, right? And showing them what type of benefit you can provide to them is huge, right? Because every loan officer is calling every realtor, right? And they're probably calling them multiple times. So keeping, sustaining, and being consistent with your current connections and your realtor partners or the people who refer you is huge. And I say that if when you have a small circle of them, build off of that, increase that, have a goal. If you have 5 consistent referral partners, put a plan and discipline in place to
Yeah.
connect with those on a consistent basis and then move on to creating more, right? Move on to, if you've got 5, make it 10. Like,
Mhm.
create goals for yourself.
Yeah.
You wake up every morning, you have to have a goal for that morning, right? I just had a conversation with one of my realtor, or one of my loan officers who is new to the industry that I've been coaching. And she's like, I'm ADD. I'm all over the place. I find that I go down a rabbit hole and I'm down this rabbit hole forever. I was like, you know what? Utilize the tools we have out there. Wake up in the morning, to go to bed knowing what you want to accomplish the next day. Open up chat and say, hey, I want to get these 5 things done. How do I get them done in this time frame? What do I need to
Mhm.
do in order to get this done? And I said, see what it says. I said, I try to stick to certain things, but it's a little hard, when you,
Yeah.
you get like eight manager meetings on the calendar
Right.
and you're trying to do things in between. But I said, you don't have that, right? You can build your structure. You can build out your day, and then you can be consistent with that. I said, wake up every morning with a plan, and then go for it. And then when you, at the end of the day, even if you haven't, if you haven't been, you haven't accomplished everything, you're going to accomplish something and you're going to feel accomplished. So move it on to the next day, wake up, restart. And so that's our goal for her, is to just really kind of be consistent in her efforts in that place. And I told her, I was like, you're going to see a real difference in how things work for you when you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, consistency is the word for pretty much everything in life, right? But
Yeah.
I think that especially if you're working with somebody newer in the industry, and I see that a lot, to be honest with you, kind of not pivoting, but adding to that is we're starting to see a lot more people getting into the mortgage industry, which is great, and it's up to us that have been in the business for a long time to pay it forward. We're actually looking to start an internship program here at Kind, and that'll help us attract people coming out of college. And so there's a lot of pieces of that. But back to your comment of consistency, I think that's one of the most critical parts of anybody trying to grow. That's just
Mhm.
a reality of it. You talk a lot about partnerships, and the decisions you make you throughout your career, who you want to partner. What are some qualities that you over your career have felt are really important when you make a decision to want to partner with someone? What are some things that stick out to you when you say, yes, I want to work with them on a daily basis? I want to build trust with them. If I'm an originator that might be wanting to partner with someone, but I have some concerns, or I don't have all the qualities that I'm looking for to partner with someone, because that's important, right? It has to be a good connection.
Mhm.
What are some things that are important to you when you look to partner with someone?
I'm always intentional, I feel like, in what I do and the decisions that I make. So when I'm looking at somebody that I want to partner with, I want to make sure that they fit in my circle, right? Do they do things very similar, or are they opposite than me, right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of times you can bring someone on that's opposite, that can dismantle your entire,
Yeah.
your everything you built, right? One person can bring down an entire,
Yes.
whatever you've done, and all the work you've put into it. So I really try to make sure that the people I bring in that are fit that model, because if they don't, like I said, it's gonna be tough. So when I look at recruiting for like loan officers or even realtors, like if a realtor is known for always, for instance, throwing another person under the bus, right, for every little thing that goes on in a transaction, that's not somebody I want to work with, because
Mhm.
I feel like these things are something that we all work together. We all have a vested interest to make the client have the best experience. So if we're working together, awesome. But if you're someone who is going to say, okay, something falls apart in the process, and the first thing you're going to do is say, oh, it's the lender's fault. To me, that's not a good partnership. And that,
Yeah.
to me, that's, you not only do you, that can dismantle other relationships that you have, because now you're going around saying, oh, that's a bad lender, that's a bad lender because they did this. But that's why I choose some, and I've come in contact with quite a few realtors that can be, can kind of do those things, and I just kind of stay away. Now, I still get, referrals from those realtors every so often, but it's not someone that I tend to want to continue to build on that relationship with. I really want those who want the client to have the best experience, who wants to work with me, who wants to, if something happens, have a conversation later and say, hey, what could we have done better? Like, what could we have done better in this transaction so I can make changes, you can make changes, so that at the end
Yeah.
of the day, that person is telling 5 other people about how great it was to work with you and I, right? And
Correct.
so that's
Yeah.
what I look for when I'm looking for, and the same thing with loan officers. Like when I look for loan officers that I want to bring on the team, I want to make sure they're team players. Like I want to make sure that when I bring them on, right now we have a team of loan officers and loan officers assistants that are all working together. They're all like, I don't know if you know, but there's numbers being pulled that we're the most efficient team in
Mhm.
closings and
Yep.
timing and things like that. And that's
Mhm.
because we all work together. We all support each other. And so that's the next loan officer. The next loan officer has to fit into that fit into us in
Fit
that
into
kind
you,
of
yeah.
type of model. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good, I think consistency, like you said, in relationships and having the same mindset, like you
Hmm.
mentioned, and being intentional, I think is one of the
Yep.
biggest. Some people just show up for meetings and don't have a plan, and I
Right.
think I've noticed that as we continue to partner with more and more people out there, Jen, we had you for a limited amount of time today because of schedules, but we're going to definitely have you on. But I want to ask you a couple more questions, right, if
Yeah.
that's okay with you. There's a lot to you. You have worked with a lot of different types of leadership, and you're in a leader role here. You have a very high profile, continue to grow leadership role here at Kind. What's a quality of leadership that you think is very important for people to understand that we have here at Kind, to get a visual behind the curtain, okay? Because you are here at Kind, you've been at different places, different organizations, you worked at different types of jobs. So I'm not just referring to mortgages, right?
Hmm.
I'm just referring to leaders in general that you in any industry that you partner with. What are some qualities that you think are important when you decide to partner with someone and to work with someone, right? Because people don't only choose companies, they choose the people to work with every single day. So what are some
Hmm.
qualities in leadership that you feel are important?
I think it's huge that the leadership listens, right? And so a lot of people wait, are so urgent to speak, right? As soon as they
Mhm.
hear something, they just want to talk. And
Yeah.
I find that the leaders who can actually listen,
Uh-huh.
they are the best leaders because they're actually truly listening. So that way, when they do engage in conversations later and try to work with the person that's, bringing things up, they can actually effectively work because they're not running to give their feedback immediately before fully actually listening to the situation. So for me, that's huge. I think that, my first conversation with you before coming back to Kind is that in itself. You
Mhm.
listened to me, which is one of the big reasons why coming back to Kind it was what
Mhm.
I did was because,
Mhm.
on that call, you listened to the things that I had to say in regards to why I chose to leave and come back.
Mhm.
But yeah, that is a huge thing for me. And that's what I try to do. I know I've always been a very quick person because everybody says, oh, from you're from Connecticut, you're from the East Coast, so you're always go 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 go.
Yeah.
But so I've had to slow myself back some and say, okay, just you're gonna have your moment, just allow people to speak so you can actually truly hear them out. But I used to be huge at cutting people off way back, and so it,
Yeah.
it took some time to kind of say, okay, Jen, stay back and let people speak and listen. But that's huge for me. I
Yeah.
think that to me is a huge trait in a leader that's impactful.
Yeah, that's a big one because it's spoken a lot, right? Like you want to be a leader that listens, and but a lot of times you want to, like you mentioned, not only jump in, but you want to solve right away, right? And
Hmm.
sometimes you need to take a step back and really understand the issue to come up with a plan and make that person feel like they're impactful and empower them to give you feedback. I think that's one of the things that I was on the phone with an underwriting manager today because I call our ops people and I say, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" Just to connect with them, and that's a big part of that is being able to listen. So I appreciate you, Jen. You're definitely, as you know, the theme for Kind Lending this year is leveling up. You are definitely helping us level up the retail platform, and I really appreciate everything you're doing. Even the phone calls, even if they're 3 minutes, we get stuff done. I got to remind myself because my wife says that sometimes I cut her off. So it's a good reminder. So Tanya, if you're watching this, right, Jen is reminding me again to listen more on that. But yeah, but listen, Jen, thank you so much for spending some time with me, some nuggets. We're going to definitely have you on again here next month, because I think there's some other things that we want to talk about on how to use programs and dive deeper into relationships. So thank you, Jenn. Jenn, if somebody wants to follow you on Instagram, what's your tagline for Instagram?
Mortgage by Jenn with
Mortgage
two
by
N's.
with two N's. So look her up.
Yep.
You want to get some information about Jenn Stears. She's awesome. Thank you, Jenn, again for being a guest. And thank you for everyone who took time out of their day to listen to this newest edition of Del Talk. And we look forward to coming back to you soon with another episode. Thanks, Jenn. Really appreciate you being on with me today.
Thank you.